G'day and welcome back to my round 4 game against iippabella of the Flying Swiss tournament for February 2022. We're just starting day number 4 here, and I'll just recap the game so far. I had some nice expansion both to the right and to the left. iippabella tried to sneak in some attacks on Wasat and Dizar, but I managed to defend them. However, there was a naturally spawned warp gate on Wasat that iippabella took advantage of by building a warp gate on Gu and flying straight to Wasat. That has allowed iippabella to wreak a fair bit of havoc, taking Akubens, Gakru, Rassalas, Cheleb, basically every star in this entire constellation that I did have control over, and now I'm fighting to take back control, and it's a slow journey, but I'm getting there. On the left side, I've managed to take complete control of this constellation of stars, and although iippabella has launched a few fleets, I've managed to defend against all of them, so I'm quite happy with my progress and how it stands. One big thing you might notice is I can see a lot more than I did last turn and last day. That's because I completed my scanning technology over the turn, so I can now see these 3 stars. I know how many ships are there stored up, and that allows me to be more frugal with how many ships I leave on these 3 stars to defend myself. That also tells me how many I should leave at Hassler to defend this constellation from attacks from iippabella's central flank. So, with that summary out of the way, I'll quickly go through my events, and then we'll come back to look at the board and do some initial moves with my carriers. Before I go into carrier movement, I'll go and compare the stats of iippabella and I just to see how we're faring at this stage of the game. So I've still got more stars. It's only a lead of 8 stars, so that's ultimately not very many stars and could easily change at any time. Got 4 more carriers. I've got about 120 more ships. To be precise, that would be 116 more ships, and I'm slightly behind in ship production. I'm 0.3 behind. We can see that I've got a lead of 23 economy. I'm behind by 1 industry, and I'm ahead by 8 science. iippabella has gone ahead and completed an extra banking level, while I went for scanning and terraforming. So, while I do have the economy lead, iippabella isn't as far behind in total income because of this extra banking, but all my infrastructure is cheaper because I have terraforming complete. Now that I've compared the statistics, it's now time for me to buy infrastructure. So we can see got some quite cheap science. That's because of all the expansion we've been doing. So Cat is quite cheap. Zorak already got infrastructure there, but that continues to be quite a good place to buy from. So I will do a mass purchase of infrastructure. I'm feeling confident enough that I don't feel the need to individually buy. There's nowhere really that I want to avoid buying infrastructure. If I buy in this constellation here, I'm still going to recapture it, and I don't need to worry about losing it ultimately. The only place it might be dangerous is in the Corn-Zorak Proxima constellation. That's because these ships here, there's 5 on Proxima, whereas there's only 3 on Zorak. So if iippabella waits for the 6th ship and comes in before I end up hitting 5 ships, then I might lose Zorak. But if I get an extra industry there, that should be fine. So I'll buy the infrastructure now. Once again, 1/4 of it goes towards science. And that's 8 points of science. 1/3 of it goes, 1/3 of the remaining goes towards industry. And that's 12 points of industry. And the rest of my cash goes towards carriers, warp gates, and economy at the end of the cycle. So now I've built my infrastructure, let's have a look at the map and make some initial movements. We can see that this fleet of 29 is going to hit Mira. I want to deal as much damage to this fleet as possible so that I can rest assured that it won't be going very far after it takes Mira. So what I'll do, that will be 5 hours. Unfortunately, this carrier won't get there in time, at being 6 hours, but what I can do is buy a carrier on Al-Qurud. No, that's also 6 hours. I can buy a carrier on El Safi and take it to Mira so that I can deposit more ships there and help defend that planet. So let's do that now. 7 ships, go to Mira, and then withdraw to... let's withdraw back to Neshmat. I don't just want to collect all ships, what I do want to do is garrison the star with some number of ships. Now, Mira builds 0.29 ships. That will come in 5 hours, so Mira will build exactly 1 ship, and I've got 7 coming. So what I'll want to leave, 5 ships there, because that will deal as much damage as I can, while losing the least number of ships to deal that amount of damage. Right, we've also got 53 ships here. I can move them on to Rasselas, and yeah, those ships can move on to Rasselas. They were left over from my split fleet before, and they'll be able to take Rasselas, including the 11 that are being sent there from iippabella. Also got 56 ships here. These 6 are coming from Yum. So what I'll want to do is I'll want to garrison the star there with 4 ships. Why 4? Because this star will produce 1 ship in between this carrier going over there, between this carrier launching and landing, and also and 4 plus 1 is 5, which is enough to take out that 6 ships and destroy it safely. Now I do need to be wary of this warp gate here on Gu. iippabella could build a warp gate on any of these stars to help bring in this fleet. And actually, what's the ETA on this fleet? The ETA is 3 hours, which means I know that there isn't a warp gate on Al Jadi. Now Al Jadi is iippabella's home star because it mirrors Al-Qurud. So if iippabella had another warp gate, that's where I'd expect it to be. So I'm okay with that. But still, that would still take another 4 hours to get to Izar, Akubens, or the crew once it leaves Gu. So what I might want to do is leave the extra ships there, but instead, that's not what I want to do. I want to head to Gakru because that's a good star for me to take. 2 industry, 1 science, whereas this is only 1 industry and no science. So if I want to defend a star, Gakru is the one I want to defend. These 82 ships still have plenty of time to come there. I'm a little worried about these 26 belonging to iippabella because they can attack any of these stars and I can't successfully defend against them. But that's a risk I'll have to take, especially with these 82 coming in. Moving over to this side, these 112 ships will require 89 ships to defend against. I've got 61 plus 28 is 89, plus another 8 is 97, so that's enough to defend against the 112. It's not quite enough to defend against the extra 50 plus 47, so I will get my carriers to drop all the ships there and head back for another load of ships. These 16 ships on Septon, they can stay there for now. I value the maneuverability having those ships gives me over having them on Hassler, where they might be useless if iippabella decides to continue to stack up there. These 48, once again, I'll take Yanfar, but Rub is really the star I want because of its 1 economy, 2 industry and 1 science compared to 1 industry, no economy and no science on Yanfar. So I'll keep this 48 going into Rob once I capture it. Azar also needs orders. The fleet at Azar needs orders. I'll send it to Faye rather than Al-Qaid or Raqba because this 48 will be able to move down to Al-Qaid after it's taken the other 2 stars, and Raqba will be too well defended once if I try to get there. So that's all the important carriers, I think. So I'll go through the rest of them and bring you back once I'm done. Okay, I've now completed all my fleet movements. They've all got orders, and I've also gone through my ships and some of the stars and built a couple of carriers to deal with those. Next, we move on to research. Manufacturing is the tech I'm working on next. That will be done in 8 hours. I don't need to order the next technology just yet because 8 hours is more than 1 turn, so we'll have to come back to that next turn. We are now at tick 78, 1 turn into the 4th cycle, so let's have a look at the general outline of the map. We can see that on the right here, iippabella is sending 16 ships to Proxima, which will give excellent opportunity to capture Zorak. So that will have to keep building up and I'll have to send some ships down there quickly to retake control in that area. Over here, iippabella has taken Mira and is sending the 18 ships onwards towards Regulus. So that will be a little annoying. Let's see how long it takes. 10 hours. Can I get ships there to defend? 11 hours. No, I can't, unfortunately. So that's going to be a lost cause. I'm just going to leave those ships there instead. got 13 ships coming on towards Neshmet. I can defend against those. So they'll arrive in 10 ticks. So that takes 4 ticks to do. I can leave my carrier on El Safi for 6 ticks and then next turn move it to Neshmet to successfully defend. And actually, I can send this carrier from Neshmet to El Karud and back again. 11 ticks. No, that won't quite work. But I can send it to El Karud to start collecting ships and working from there. But with iippabella sending those onward to Regulus, these 17 ships could really nicely retake Mira. So I'm a little disappointed I sent my carrier away. It would have been good to have it there, but I can use these 5 ships to move on and reconquer that star. I've also got 38 ships here. We've got 6 coming in against 5, so that's fine. These 38, what I'm going to do is I'm going to send them all to Akubens. That way I can have the biggest defensive fleet to take on these 84 as I possibly can. These 87, I'm going to send them down this way to also help out with possible defense. If I send it straight to the star, that will be 11 ticks versus 11 ticks there, and since I'll have captured it with this fleet, I will be able to get these here and defend it in time, so I'm happy with that situation there. Moving over to the left side of the map, we see that we've got these 23 ships going to easily take Rob, which now has 2 industry on it, so that's very nice for me. We've also got 23 heading towards Faye for an easy capture, but we can send these 23 straight on towards El Qaid, and that will be a nice safe capture for me. So that's all the map control things that we need to look at for now. Let's have a look at statistics and see how that has changed over the last turn. Well, I'm ahead in everything except ship production. That must mean that iippabella's put a lot into industry, and indeed we can see that only 7 difference in industry, plus I'm behind in manufacturing. So that's been some initiative from iippabella, but I'll have manufacturing done in 2 hours, so that's not too much of a problem. And I'll be retaking these 2 industry plus this one, so I'll be back to well in the lead in ship production. With the map situation looked at and our statistics compared, what I'll do now is I'll go through the events and I'll give orders to any spare carriers that need extra orders and pick up any ships that need transporting to the front line, and I'll bring you back in once that's done. Welcome back. So nothing really out of the ordinary to say what I did. I did send these 80 ships to garrison Menkalinon with enough ships so that I was able to defend against both these attacks, and sent the rest on towards the right. Over on the left side here, I just left these 24 ships sitting on Azhar so that I could defend against a potential attack from Rokbar, especially since Barely has scanning range on here. Probably in scanning range, yes it is, but still, it's nice to have that backup fleet there just in case iippabella decides to attack. And with all that, that's it for this turn, and so I will move on to the next turn. We're now at tick 84, halfway into the 4th cycle, and having a quick look at the map, we see that these 16 ships are about to hit Proxima, so I'm going to destroy the warp gate here in order to get rid of any potential use of that by iippabella. Over here, these 18 ships are heading to Regulus. I won't be able to defend against that, unfortunately, so I'll have to chase those ships down later. These 13 are heading to Neshmet. I'll be able to send these 4 from El Safi to Neshmet in order to successfully defend that star, because they'll get there in time to get there, and 13 ships only take 9 to destroy. These 46 ships heading to Mira, they can head straight onto Regulus, trying to take out these 18 ships that are being a thorn in my side. Coming down to this constellation here, we see that iippabella put a warp gate on Akibens to improve the speed coming from Gu to Akibens. Unfortunately, that means that that fleet did get there before my fleet did, and that gives iippabella a chance to send more ships up this area and retake control of that constellation, which is especially good considering I just noticed I'm 3 stars off winning. Having a quick look around, we can see that I am going to capture 1 star here, capture another star here, and there was a 3rd star somewhere that I was going to capture, but unfortunately that won't be enough because I'll lose Regulus. Down here, I can capture me from Mekbuda if I build a carrier and take me, but that won't be enough to win because I will lose Regulus, and chances are I'll lose Gakru and Izar as well in this turn. And there's plenty of ships here. There's about 50 ships that can try to make some inroads onto some of these stars. So I've got a lot of expansion, but now I need to protect it well. So that's basically the summary of the situation. As I said, I will build a carrier here, take out me. That way I can have peace of mind. I don't need to worry about iippabella possibly trying to take these 2 stars, and I can start to move the ships forwards to make extra defense in this constellation. We also see that there are 54 ships heading towards Hassela. Unfortunately, I took away my 18 ships from Septon, and so that's all vulnerable now and I won't be able to protect it, so that was a blunder by me. What I'll do is I'll send 17 of these back to Septon, leaving 1 on the star so that if iippabella attacks this way, I'll do maximum damage, and I'll be able to protect this star at least from any counterattacks from iippabella. Well, any further inroads from iippabella. I think that finishes the summary. So let's have a look at our comparative stats. As I said, I'm 3 stars off winning and 20 stars ahead of iippabella. I've got 7 more carriers, but that doesn't mean much. I'm about 120 ships ahead, and I've got 5 ship income more than iippabella. About 50% more science, about 15 more industry, and 24 more economy. I'm still behind in banking, so that negates some of my economic lead, but ahead in terraforming and equal in all of the other techs. I'll now move on to events, and once I've looked at them, I'll give orders to my ships and come back to you to look at research. Right, so that's all my carriers ordered and ships moved towards the front line. You'll notice I set up a loop between these 4 stars. That's just so that I don't have to worry about working out the number here each time, and the ships will keep moving towards the front, and I won't end up forgetting ships on my home star like I did last time. Now all to do is to look at research. So looking here, I forgot to change manufacturing last turn, but I'm happy to go for a second level of manufacturing. I'll end up getting that just before the cycle. After manufacturing is complete, what I'll want is a level of terraforming next. At this stage, I don't think banking is going to be very worth it, and scanning and hyperspace range provide no immediate benefit that I can see. Hyperspace range won't even allow me to get to score. Actually, no, it won't allow me to get to score, so I don't see any benefit in researching either of them at the moment. As it is, that's all I have to do for this turn, and I'll move on to the next. We're now at tick 90, one turn before the end of this cycle. Having a quick look at the board, these 41 ships are going to take Regulus. Ippabella's sent the 14 ships from here onwards towards Al Safi. I might be able to get there in time from Al-Qarud. That will be 7 hours compared to 6, so unfortunately I won't make it from Al-Qarud, but I will make it from Neshmet. So I will build a carrier on Neshmet and send it to Al Safi, just so I can increase the number of ships there to do as much damage to this fleet as possible, because I want to send these 41 ships down here to retake these 3 stars, this small constellation to the side there. Coming over, we've still got 76 ships on Akibans. I've lost a crew, but I've got 58 ships left on Wasat. I don't need to worry about my presence down there very much. And next cycle, it may be worth me building a warp gate on one of these stars so I can counterattack Gui and potentially break that off at the source. Coming to the center here, we see that Ippabella tried launching a fleet through the center, but because I have enough radar, I was able to see that coming before the launch and have enough ships there to defend it. I'll be able to take some ships away and still easily defend against the 145. Coming over further to the west, we see that I did indeed lose Hassler, but I've got 45 ships coming from here to retake. They'll come in just about 7 hours. I've got 21 ships here to disincentivize coming down south from that star. And if iippabella decides to go for any of these other stars, it will be a painful journey and I'll be able to retake much easier. Then coming down to this constellation of stars here, iippabella tried retaking some of these stars, went for Gianfar, but I'll easily keep that with 32 ships defending against their 24. They also went for Faye, 26 ships against 18. 26 will take how many rounds? Will take 6 rounds of defense, so 5 rounds of attack means I need 21 ships here to defend. Unfortunately, I won't get that. I'll only have 19, so iippabella will retake Faye, but won't retake it with enough that... won't retake it with enough that they can go on and further attack other stars. I'll be able to retake it with leftovers from my fleet here. I also launched towards Elhahoth. Unfortunately, iippabella has enough production there that I won't be able to retake it. I launched with 9 ships. I really should have launched with either 6 or 11, but those 9 ships, it's just going to be a waste. But I did recapture me. So with that quick look of the board, let's have a look at how our statistics compare. So I'm still 20 stars ahead and still only 3 stars away from winning the game. So every one of the 3 stars I captured this turn, I lost a star for somewhere else. I'm still ahead in ships, about 145 ships ahead, and I've got an ship income lead by about 4 ships. Actually, 3.5 ships. I'm ahead in economy, industry and science, and will be building more economy this turn, so that lead will hopefully increase even more. Still ahead in terraforming, still behind in banking. So that all looks good. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to have a look at the events and order my carriers around. I'll speed through that for you and then bring you back once I'm done. Okay, welcome back. I've now given orders to all my carriers and all my ships that I feel need moving towards the front line. So now it's time for me to purchase all my economy for this cycle. So I'll go through it individually, and once again I'll speed through the purchase of economy. Uh, I'll do it individually so that I don't build economy on stars such as Fae that I'm going to lose, or Alsafi or such stars. So I'll quickly do that and then come back and bring you back in once I'm done. Right, well that's the infrastructure purchased for this cycle. That brings us to the end of the cycle and the end of this video. So I want to thank you for watching this video. I encourage you to check out all the other videos of me versus iippabella, and they are in a playlist shown on the end screen theatre. If you have seen all of the other videos from this game, then I encourage you to go check out a video from another game and see how that one plays out.